I hate doing clickbait titles, but unfortunately they work, and that's your own damn fault because you did click on this video, didn't you? That said, I'm going to cut right to the chase. I'm James Reeves, Esquire, independent program attorney for US LawShield in Louisiana and Mississippi. Also licensed to practice in Florida, and believe it or not, Alabama. They do practice law there. I've been a program attorney for US LawShield since they opened in Louisiana and Mississippi day one, and I've had to defend a lot of policyholders for US LawShield. I'm not your lawyer. This is not legal advice. What is the number one thing gun owners get in trouble for? No question in my mind. No dispute, no two ways about it. Road rage. Road rage, unfortunately, very American thing. I think I remember the first time I drove in Italy, I think it was about 20 years ago with my wife, then girlfriend, marveling at being on the autostrada or highway or whatever, and you're coming up on an Italian driver who's going slower than you. What does he do? He doesn't speed up so you can't pass him or slam on his brakes and brake check and then threaten to kill your entire family. No, he just gets over a little bit and slows down, makes it easier for you to pass. No ego, no anger, just a couple of seconds to let you pass. So why is that so hard here? I don't know. And you don't do it. That's what you're all saying right now. You're like, James, I don't do that. Road rage? What? I don't have a road rage issue. Now, that may or may not be true, but even if you aren't the one instigating the incident, simply reacting to a road rager can escalate things very quickly. I've had a gun pulled on me twice, two separate incidents, which feels insane to say out loud. Someone has pointed a gun at me twice. Both of those times, of course, happened in New Orleans. The first time, guy in like a blackish grayish Mercedes SUV with temporary tags cuts into traffic on Rampart Street without looking, nearly hits me. I've got to switch lanes. I honk on the horn. After that, he starts aggressively following me. At the next stoplight, he pulls alongside my car, pointing a gun at me. I've got a picture of this gentleman right here, right now, along with his temporary tag. Whether or not you actually want to do that, I don't know how smart that is. That could have made him angry and he could have shot me. The second incident coming out of the parking lane on Poydras Street, there's a guy doing about 60 and a 30, and he's changing lanes like right whenever I get out. He lays on his horn because I'm going like 7 or 8 over the speed limit instead of 65 miles an hour. Next intersection, he pulls up beside me. He's angry. He's rolling down his window. He's kind of signaling to me like, roll down your window. Instead, I just laughed and kind of mouthed the words like, have a nice day. Just because I reacted instead of ignoring him, he starts digging around in his car. He's digging around, and I can tell Lindsay, she's right there. I'm like, Lindsay, this guy's looking for his gun. Sure enough, he comes up, pointing his gun at me. In both situations, took pictures, called the police, reported what happened. But honestly, the best thing that I could have done in either of those scenarios was just not react at all. Just 2 hands on the wheel, looking straight ahead. That's what you should do. Even honking a horn to prevent an accident can escalate into someone threatening your life. That's just the harsh reality of road rage today. You can go ahead, shut the video off now because you would never do something like that, right? Think again. Again, even just reacting like I did, honking a horn, laughing, God, flipping somebody off, that could be enough to get you charged with a felony. You're thinking, James, that's insane. How can I be charged with a felony for making a hand gesture, honking my horn? Please allow me to explain. My very first big case for US LawShield about 5 or 6 years ago, although the story's public record, I'm not going to name the individual because it's not relevant. Let's just call him Dick Bush. Dick had a professional occupation. He had an advanced degree, super smart guy, had never once, not even one time in his life, been arrested. And this was on Father's Day. Dick was on the way to visit his dad on his motorcycle. Unfortunately, he never made it because he spent the night in jail. Dick, riding his motorcycle on the interstate, he's stuck in Father's Day traffic because the asshole in front of him in the passing lane, 2 lanes, right? You got the left lane, the right lane, and this asshole's in the left lane, going the same speed as a semi in the right lane, basically a rolling roadblock. After miles of this, the semi finally gets off the exit. A dozen frustrated motorists, including Dick, pass by this black F-150, probably a Ford F-150 Raptor guy. It's always the Raptor guys that do this shit. As Dick passes the truck, he decides to express his displeasure, flips the Raptor guy the bird. Now, should he be killed for this? Should he go to jail over this? Well, according to Raptor guy, absolutely. Raptor guy rapidly accelerates, and according to my client, is attempting to run poor old Dick off the road. So Dick pulls over the shoulder, lets Raptor guy pass, but instead, Raptor guy slams on his brakes, throws his truck into reverse, backs right up to Dick, who's still straddling his motorcycle. He's got his helmet and his gloves on. He's got this like 600-pound motorcycle between his legs. Raptor guy jumps out of his truck, and as Dick described him, he said he looked like an NFL linebacker in jeans and a black leather vest. Dick, in his 50s or 60s, no match for this angry dude marching towards him fast. So in this precarious situation, Dick, he reaches into his jacket, pulls out his firearm, holds it at low ready, says, "Hey, Raptor guy, stand back. Go back to your truck." Fortunately, Raptor guy, he puts his brakes on, gets back in his truck, drives off. Let's stop for a second. What would you have done differently? Maybe not flip the guy off, right? But does flipping someone off justify being run over, killed by a truck? Absolutely not. Like I said earlier, no reaction is the best reaction. I don't even blame Dick for flipping the guy off because, I mean, geez, what an asshole thing to do. What else could Dick have done differently if he had a chance to go back in time, but right after he flipped the bird? Let's say he did it, right? What could he have done differently? Nothing. Guy tries to run him over with his truck. Dick tries to get away on a motorcycle. He was pursued, and he ultimately responded with a reasonable use of force. Hey, go back to your truck, low ready. And it diffused the situation. I don't think he could have done anything differently, again, other than not flipping the bird. So, James, why did he go to jail? Because the second Raptor guy gets back in his truck, he has his girlfriend in the passenger seat call the Louisiana State Patrol. "Oh, this crazy guy in a motorcycle, he just pulled a gun on my boyfriend because my boyfriend was driving too slow." So just a few miles later, trooper pulls Dick over. They search him and it's like, "Oh, yep, here's the gun." Just like they said, it was in the jacket pocket, like they said. He uses his one phone call after he gets to jail. Dick uses it to call me. I get him bailed out the next morning. Eventually, I actually convinced the DA to drop all the charges after pointing out my client had zero prior run-ins with the law, that his story was reasonable, and the so-called victim wasn't going to show up in court because he had an active warrant out for his arrest. So he actually never even got in touch with the DA. They dropped the charges. Because Dick was a US LawShield policyholder, my fees were completely covered. By the way, if you want to sign up, if you use the code NGGC, like Neutral Ground Gun Company, you get like a couple free months, and I get 20 or 30 bucks, or my range does. Neutral Ground Gun Company, they get 20, 30 bucks. So think about it. His fees were covered, but his bail was initially set at about $250,000 because he was charged with felony aggravated assault with a firearm. That meant that he had to post a 10% bond, call it $25,000, which he would never get back, even after the charges were dismissed. You don't get that money back. So flipping the bird cost my client a night in jail, $25,000, and spending Father's Day away from his dad. Road rage. You use a firearm to defend yourself. What should you be charged with? Let's talk about assault. It's an attempt to commit a battery or intentionally placing another person in reasonable fear of receiving a battery. Aggravated assault, same thing, but with a deadly weapon. That carries a maximum prison sentence of 6 months in Louisiana. That's just a misdemeanor. So why did Dick end up in jail with a $250,000 bail? That's because Louisiana is like many other states with a special version of aggravated assault that increases the penalty dramatically if the deadly weapon is a firearm. Instead of just a 6-month sentence, you face up to 10 years of involuntary ankles behind your head prison yoga if you commit the exact same crime with a firearm. That means even if you're in Dick's shoes, you've done nothing wrong, you could still be charged, and he was, with a very serious felony and potentially faced a decade behind bars. Then there's what I like to call expert level road rage. This is a crime called drive-by shooting. Drive-by shooting, they've got it in Mississippi, they've got it in Louisiana. It's attempting to cause serious bodily injury by discharging a firearm from inside or on a vehicle. I'll be completely honest with you. I've been practicing law since 2008, and until recently, I had no idea that drive-by shooting was even a crime, like its own crime. That changed when I got a case out of Mississippi from a client. We'll call her Jenny. Jenny Talia, MD. If I remember correctly, Jenny was tailgating another woman who slammed on her brakes, or maybe it was vice versa. They were arguing with each other in traffic. Honestly, it doesn't really matter who did what because both parties were equal dumbasses. As you can imagine, things escalated. One car cuts off the other. They're horn honking, they're tailgating, they're finger flipping, the works. But when the other driver threw an object, ended up being like a fast food bag full of garbage or something, at Jenny's car, Jenny claims, "Oh my God, I was in fear for my life." She had her 3-year-old daughter in the back seat, mind you, pulls her pistol out, cracks off 3 or 4 warning shots into the air with her 3-year-old, like right there. So Jenny was promptly arrested. She was charged with drive-by shooting. Here's what's wild. Ag assault, 6 months. Ag assault with a firearm, up to 10 years. Drive-by shooting in Mississippi, 60 times the penalty, 60 times of regular ag assault. 30 years in prison max. Louisiana's got a similar law, but it's a 3-year minimum, 10-year maximum. Fortunately, Jenny had no prior criminal record. She didn't injure anyone. There were no credible witnesses. It was just classic he said, she said between the other driver. Because of those circumstances, I managed to get Jenny a pretty good plea deal. It was 6 months of probation, no felony conviction on her record. Now, I've got way more stories than just the few that I gave you about road rage, because like I said, far and away, the #1 source of emergency calls, again, "Oh, James, I'm in jail. Oh man, that's terrible. What happened?" Or, "I'm being arrested right now. Oh, dude, what'd you do?" This guy, he cut me off in traffic, so I pointed a gun at him. If you take away one thing from this video, here's your free legal advice right here. That legal advice is, Daddy, chill. I know most of you watching this, you're responsible gun owners. You would never intentionally escalate a situation. But as you've seen from this video, it's easy to do it accidentally. Even a simple gesture, a horn honk, can spiral out of control and lead to life-altering legal consequences. The best advice I can give you, based on my experience as an attorney and as someone who's had a gun pulled on him, is simple. Twice, 2 times. Don't react. It isn't worth risking your life, your freedom, or your finances over a moment of anger or frustration on the road. And if you ever do find yourself in a tough situation, make sure you have an attorney who understands self-defense laws, who understands firearm laws. It can literally save you years of your life, probably thousands of dollars in legal fees. Whether or not you're a US LawShield member, get a good lawyer, I would suggest. Know your rights, understand what the laws are in your state. Above all, keep you cool behind the wheel, really. Guys, stay safe out there, and thank you so much for watching. Take care.